you're talking about essentially the entire credit markets could have nearly froze if the Fed didn't step in with these facilities.
The Fed supported credit markets so credit markets could support people. Chris Campbell is chief strategist at Duff & Phelps and former assistant secretary of the Treasury.
They allow for there to be liquidity or money available to banks or institutions to have them to be able to lend you money.
By all accounts, these programs worked. Edward Altman is professor of finance emeritus at NYU.
The Treasury felt that it has succeeded so well that it's no longer necessary.
Altman sees that as ill-advised, given the looming threat of further shutdowns. But Secretary Mnuchin has said businesses need grants now, not loans. The $455 billion in question could be repurposed into a miniature stimulus deal before a new president is sworn in. In New York, I'm Sabri Benishore for Marketplace.
As promised, Gina Smilek from the New York Times, Lynette Lopez from Business Insider. Hey, you two.
Hi, Ken. Hi.
So, Gina, let me start with you and the what is going on here. First of all, the unusual sort of disagreement, I guess, between the Treasury and the Fed and why it's happening.
Yeah, so this is some drama. This is like the most dramatic story I've ever covered, and I've been covering the Fed for 7 years. So basically, I think that this is a political squabble, and that's how we should understand it. So the Fed and Treasury were looking at potentially extending these emergency loan programs past the end of the year. Suddenly, the Treasury has decided that congressional intent means that it can't do that. And so really it's taking these programs off the table just as the Biden administration comes into office. Now, obviously they're citing legal reasons, but Secretary Mnuchin is going out and saying, hey, like as an added bonus, we can go ahead and repurpose this money. But the problem with that is the money was scored as deficit neutral when the Congressional Budget Office scored this law. So it's not like you can just take this money and spend it. It doesn't add to the deficit. It absolutely would add to the deficit, just like any new spending would. And so, this has become this like real drama. And I think the Fed, for its part, really kind of like made a pretty shocking statement in responding to this and saying, hey, like we would really like to extend these if you would just give us that option. And the Treasury clearly isn't.
Well, and if you read Chair Powell's letter this afternoon, Lynette, the language is fairly frosty. He's clearly not pleased. What do you think, Lynette, of the idea that the outgoing administration is saying now to President-elect Biden, you're on your own?
Yeah, nice economy there. Wouldn't want anything to go wrong with it. No, I mean, Chairman Powell is clearly frustrated, and he's one of the few adults in Washington who still talks to the White House. And I think he realizes that Trump is in a position where he wants to burn everything down. Mnuchin, who has been trying to play both sides, is probably not seeing a lot of potential to do that anymore. It doesn't seem like there's going to be another stimulus package. And if this looks like irrational behavior, it's because it is. It's because it's politically motivated by a man, Donald Trump, who has really he hasn't cared about how America does through this crisis for a long time. And he certainly doesn't care now that he's a lame duck president. I mean, his schedule has been publicly empty since he lost.
Gina, how come the markets today with this squabble between Treasury and the Fed, right? It's like when your parents fight. How come the markets didn't just go, oh, my God, what's going on?
So I think that it's going to take some time to dawn on everybody exactly what this means. I think that these facilities clearly served as a backstop. Right now, markets are feeling fairly confident that we're getting a vaccine. But I think the real question and the real test is going to come when you get some bad news. Like what happens if one of these vaccine trials goes badly? What happens if there's some sort of setback? And the Fed facilities aren't obviously going to be there at scale to back it up. And I think we just can't know that in a day. I think it's going to take time to see how that plays out.
Here's another what happens, Lynette. What happens if there's no fiscal relief from Washington before the inauguration and even beyond that with the Republicans conceivably maintaining control of the Senate?
It's a scary prospect. A lot of Americans, we have unemployment benefits running out for millions of Americans the day after Christmas, as if Dickens was writing this novel himself. It's just like, I don't know how many ways can I say it would be bad for everyone, people who don't have jobs, corporates who still need to lend. Americans have been running through their savings. Consumption is what keeps this economy afloat. And so when people stop spending, this economy stops running. I mean, I don't know how many different ways to say it. It's Econ 101. And if, like I said, if this doesn't make sense, it's because it's not supposed to. It's not about you or me or any of the voters. This is about Donald Trump and how he feels about America right now, which is not great.